Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today. This is Dylan Kemna with OptiCall. Today's presentation is the 2021 Refractive Marketing Stimulus. Proud to have such an elite group of refractive marketers back together for the second year in a row. I'm just going to do a quick introduction of our panelists. Let everybody introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with Joel.
Joel Nunley, the Nunley Group, Fayetteville, Arkansas.
All right. Mike Malley.
Mike Malley, CRM Group, Houston, Texas.
Amanda Polk.
Amanda Polk Miller, Public Relations, Dallas, Fort Worth.
All right. Mike Debkowski.
Michael Debkowski from Glacial Multimedia in Portland, Maine.
Megan Mestis.
I'm Megan Mestis, COO from IMAX in Denver, Colorado.
Paul Stubenboard.
Paul Stubenboard with Denali Creative, and we're out of Trophy Club, Texas, which is close to Dallas.
Connor Dixon.
Connor Dixon, Relevant Lab, we're out of Boulder, Colorado.
And Michael King.
Michael King out of St. Harbor, Washington for the Laser Marketing Agency. I'm currently in Hawaii.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Just wanted to do a quick Monday Night Football introduction for everybody before we jump into this. Just to give you an idea of how this is going to run, we're just going to give a little overview from OptiCall. We're going to run a couple polls, and all of our speakers are going to have 5 minutes each. We're going to try to keep this meeting as tight as we can. It's kind of tough when you're dealing with 8 different marketing agencies. It's kind of like herding cats sometimes, but we'll try to keep it moving along. If you have any questions, please submit them as they come. We're most likely going to wait until the end, and we'll bring our panelists back in to address all the questions. So without further ado, we'll get started here. Can you guys all see my screen? I know most of you guys just went on mute. I'm just going to assume that you can. So I guess it's a little plug for OptiCall, but the reason that we put this together is we're a neutral platform. We support all of these marketing agencies. All of these guys have customers that we share, and we specialize in converting these leads. So all these experts that we brought on today all specialize in generating leads. So there's a lot of synergy, and we try to stay neutral with all the companies out there. When we put this together last year, it was right when the pandemic hit. So it was called the Refractive Resurrection. And it was kind of cool how everybody came together and collaborated on something joint where everybody offered their advice on how to get through the pandemic. So today's webinar is kind of the check-in just a little over a year later on what we're seeing and some takeaways that you can apply at your practice. This slide right here is just kind of a quick snapshot from our medical marketing outlook. We put together stats annually, usually in January, based on what we see from year to year. The biggest takeaway from 2019 to 2020 was the shift from word of mouth referrals and internet leads. It was the first time since we've been doing this outlook that the internet leads actually exceeded referrals. And then I'm going to show some polls before I show my next slide here. So I'd like to get some feedback from the audience. You guys can help us out here. So this first question, we just like to know, what are you guys seeing from 2019 to 2020 on just refractive surgery volume? Did you see an increase, a decrease, stayed the same, or not sure? We'd love to get your feedback. I'll just leave this up for maybe 10 more seconds here. And Joel, you'll probably have to keep me to my time limit so I don't get carried away. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out and share the results. Are these results coming up? Here we go. So yeah, this is kind of in line with what we've heard from most practices. 77% of you say that it's increased, which is kind of an anomaly that's hard to explain going through a pandemic, that practices finished the year with higher surgery volume in 2020 than they did in 2019. 10% say decrease, 3% stayed the same, another 10% not sure. I'm gonna hide this. I got 2 more polls here. The other question is, how's your volume so far? Oh, can I just close that? Shoot, I hit it too fast. I don't know if I can reopen this. All right, well, we'll have to skip that one. It was basically a question of what's happening in 2020 so far. Got a little click happy here. So I think the takeaway there is we're seeing an even bigger increase in 2021 so far, and I imagine most of you would say the same. And just a little feedback from our audience before I pass the mic over to Joel. We'd love to know what your biggest marketing challenges are currently, and you can select more than one of these, whatever is relevant for your practice. So just leave this up for about 10 seconds. And all right, we're to the majority. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out, share the results. So 55% of you said staffing. Nobody said patient fear. I'm surprised with that. With the pandemic and everything, 33% converting leads and 36% patient finances and 27% lead generation. Go ahead and close that out. I've got one more slide. I just want to give you guys a kind of a recap of what we've seen at OptiCall. And sorry for the lengthy slide here. It's more of a reminder for me. But basically in 2020, the pandemic hit, practices were forced to close their doors. None of us knew what to expect. This was brand new territory. For OptiCall, we were fortunate in that we had already started transitioning to a remote model where we were able to transition 100% of our staff remote. So we were able to remain fully functional. So we did experience practices going on hold, some canceling. But then in May, we saw this surge of volume that was completely unexpected. I don't know if that's because the stimulus checks were hitting, people are living more for the now, they're limited on what they can do. A lot of times people will say you're competing against those trips to Disney World, not necessarily the practice down the street. So then at the end of 2020, as that poll supported, a lot of practices are telling us that they saw higher volume in 2020 than they did in 2019 after the pandemic. So that was pretty surprising. 2021 in March, we saw another jump, 18% jump from February to March in lead volume. And I think that's when the stimulus checks were hitting again. So the outcome is practices are seeing better volume than they have in years. So we're kind of riding that wave, hence the title, the refractive stimulus. So now we're going to pass it on to our marketing experts so they can share some pearls on what they've seen and take it from there. So Joel Nunley with the Nunley Group.
Thanks, Dylan, and thanks OptiCall for hosting everybody. Are the slides up? Can people see the slides?
Yes, they should be able to.
Well, as I put my presentation together, you always want to ask why. Why is your volume up? Why is it down? And we are seeing incredible volume right now. And I wanted to figure out why. So I did a little research. It looks like our government has been nice enough to send out about $5 trillion. Then when you look at the travel industry and folks not spending money on that, you look at dining, it's down $260 billion. You've got as much as $7 trillion out in the economy. We are flush with cash. And I'll be honest, when I put my talk together, I didn't know how much a trillion was. It's a million times a million. It's a one with, I think, 12 zeros. If you stacked a trillion up, $100 bills, it'd be 631 miles high. That's 2.5 times space station. So we are flooded with cash. Your phone should be ringing off the hook right now, to be really honest. In fact, marketing should be the least of your problems. I did something this morning. I made 10 mystery shops around the country to practices I work with and folks we compete with. And you'll be surprised at what I found.
Joel, I just want to make sure I'm on the right slide. Apparently, I wasn't sharing them earlier. I got the over 5 billion slide up.
Yeah.
Do you want to go
next
to
slide would be good. But anyway, it averages out to about 12 to 14,000 per citizen, whether you're 9 months old or 99 years old. But anyway, I did some mystery shops. I did 10 calls this morning. I only got through on 5 calls out of 10. That's, as OptiCall would tell you, you're failing miserably. And I am a shill for OptiCall, I will admit, because, part of marketing is answering your phone, your quizzes, your email, whatever your marketing campaigns are. We've got to, capture those leads. So 5 out of 10 calls went to voicemail, and I left messages, and only 1 of 5 as of now have returned my call. You always want to look at your operations. Another thing we're seeing in practices, it's hard to hire people. They're not going back to work. But definitely, look at your operations. And, Dylan, if you would, go to your next slide, or my next slide, our next slide. Can you advance that? Okay. But I think now is a great time to mystery shop yourself, your competitors, and measure, what's your call to consult. I think that's our biggest miss right now. And we're having some of the same problems. I mean, I tried to buy a hot tub the other day. They told me November. We called a restaurant last night, and they're like, "Oh, we can't take reservations right now." Customer service is way down. Back orders are way up. We tried to buy a stovetop. It's on back order. So, our industry was set up for, we had a pretty consistent volume there for a number of years. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting, flooded with calls, emails. So I think that's where you really should start. You need to know those conversion rates. OptiCall has always been a good partner for us, and I will give them a plug. We've used First Contact for years. We know that we've had, some issues. Response needs to be just as good as your phones. And then, when you get those leads, you have a database, and are you responding? So I think, the first thing I would do is do an assessment, get back to the basics. And this is a big wave. We're flooded. A historical cash wave is out there, but it won't last forever. So you want to take advantage of it now. And anyway, I want to thank OptiCall for doing this, and I'll pass it on to my respected and grizzled friend, Mike Malley. Thank you all.
Appreciate that, Joel.
Hey, nice job, Joel. Here in Texas and around the world, the growing season has begun indeed. Wow, it's been, for me, 33 years in the refractive marketing business, and I have never seen anything like this in the past, where it's suddenly made all of us great marketers, all this flush cash out there, and it's made y'all great LASIK surgeons and refractive surgeons. So my talk is going to be about really getting vertical. Is that it's like fishing, and I'm a big fly fisherman and a trout fisherman, and there's a lot of times where you don't want to fish because it's too windy, the water's too murky. But right now, I mean, the refractive fishing is fantastic. Next slide, please, Dill. That there's just a number of factors going on where if you have a budget out there and you're somewhat happy with your current marketing, then look at the next 4 to 6 to maybe 8 weeks, because we are about to get in big time competition. Forgot to start my 4-minute clock on myself. We're about to get in big time competition with things like stovetops, like Joel said, and a hot tub, and restaurants, and like Michael King in Hawaii right now. People are going to start taking our LASIK dollars and putting them into their own lives. So we've had the part about glasses fogging up and mask, making your glasses fogging up. Well, as people take their mask off, they're going to get away from their glasses fogging up again. So right now it's the time to take what I call a deeper, shorter dive. There's a thing called vertical marketing and horizontal penetration. I'm talking about right now is taking dollars you have set aside for September and October and putting them into the June budget. Don't wait until October and September when things may be different. We know that every dollar invested right now is going to return, 4, 6, 10%, on that. So make your investments now, because this mindset of stimulus is real. People feel they have money, people do have money, and people are spending money. And we're getting a lot of it with our clients and your clients and your practices because we're out there marketing. So That's the first thing. So just get back, into your marketing, amp it up, go deeper, shorter than horizontal. A few things you can do this month to help your practice is one thing is called a pop-up promotional banner, where if people are on your website or on your landing page or whatever you're doing with social media, we're testing these pop-up exit banners where as you get ready to leave, and it's not anything new, but we're just getting more aggressive with those now. We're saying, wait, before you leave, here's this offer one more time. The timing's perfect for LASIK. And we're seeing this pretty dramatic, saving of lost leads, where I think one of the practices we had 55 conversions that were going to leave that actually happened simply by putting up an exit pop-up banner. And something else we saw that we had a meeting last week was that pop-up banners with simple wording versus an image actually work better than having the image. So get those exit pop-up banners out there. We're also a campaign you can use right now in June is where can LASIK take you this summer? And so we're saying, vacations go better with LASIK. Life goes better with LASIK. But before you get back out there, get your vision corrected now with LASIK, and then see where LASIK will take you. And you can run these little video ads with your social media or wherever you want to put them, showing people on vacation. They're a bit looking like testimonials, but they aren't actual testimonials. It's just beautiful people having a beautiful time without any glasses on. And it's all about getting that video embedded, in their feeds and making it look like, wow, I'm out here on vacation, with LASIK. And it's just a perfect message for right now is where can LASIK take you this summer? Last but not.
You want me to jump to the next slide? 1 minute left.
Yes, you can. We have about a minute left. So next slide is, wow, I am presbyopic and I can barely see that. So we have your proposed June launch strategy. Write this down, kids, is initiate campaigns that generate direct response now, because again, you're going vertical. You want direct feedback now. Use downloads, special offers, the exit pop-up banners. Push all inquiries to a trackable dedicated source. We're using a lot of redirects, and maybe Michael Dobkowski can talk about that, where we're sending people to dedicated URL addresses based on the messaging, and then you can understand how well is my whatever working based on people going to dedicated URL addresses. Always position your practice as the preferred source in a market for a preferred procedure. And last but not least, you need to really differentiate, your practice from everybody else. So this summer, do all those things, and good luck. Get in while the getting is good. Thank you very much. We're on to our next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. Way to keep it moving there. All right, the next speaker is Amanda Polk with Miller PR.
Hey guys, sorry, it took me a second to get back up. I'm Amanda Polk, and while I have tons of information to share, because what a crazy year we've all new media, meaning new opportunities for LASIK and RLE advertisers in their unique markets. So let me see if I have my first slide. So it went over a little over a year ago. Obviously, everyone was staying at home, and that led to a boom in new media consumption. And surprisingly, it didn't halt. It didn't slow down. That growth we're still seeing in 2021. In fact, 74% of adults ages 25 to 54 are regularly streaming music, news, and podcasts each month. And this surprising thing for most is that there's a good chunk of that over 40 population in there. We typically think, oh, it's all millennials, oh, it's all young people, but we actually have a good chunk of pretty much the whole population consuming media in this way, which has led to a 24/7 access, an always-on opportunity for advertisers to get more eyes in more ways, more often than ever before. And like I said, it's not slowing down. So I want to, Dylan, will you go to the next slide? I want to look at some 2020 versus 2021 stats in streaming audio and video consumption. So streaming audio platforms like Pandora, Spotify, and oh, Dylan, you took my slides away.
Sorry. I think I've got the wrong screen up. Sorry.
Okay, I'm like, now I'm staring at myself. I better get an extra minute.
Mode. Sorry.
Okay.
Screen
well,
two.
I'll just go without it. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Streaming audio and connected TV is what I'm talking about, and that includes podcasts is what I'm talking about with the new media. So not necessarily new in the way that it's just now coming out, but in the way of it was off to the side in past years, and now it literally cannot be ignored. It needs to be a part of any comprehensive marketing campaign to garner leads. Okay, so we're there on the slide. So here are the stats for year over year. So streaming audio, that's your platforms that are music, podcasts. I'm sure everyone has listened to something on a streaming audio platform. Pandora, Spotify, and iHeartRadio are the biggest ones. Pandora is actually up 42% in listenership year over year. Spotify up 24% and iHeartRadio up 11%. And connected TV, 78% of households are now reachable via CTV advertising. This is actually up 56% year over year. So if CTV was something you were ignoring before, I would highly recommend you not ignore that anymore. Podcasts, 41% of Americans are now tuning in for an average of 6+ hours per week. So the podcast population, while it's a little smaller than streaming TV or streaming audio, they are far more tuned in than any other audience, and data has shown that they actually trust ads more so than other platforms. So podcasts are huge, and the cool part about podcast advertising in 2021 is traditionally you could not buy into podcasts unless you were you had a big huge budget, or you were a national advertiser, because the targeting just wasn't there. And now in 2021, many streaming audio platforms like Spotify or iHeartRadio are opening up their inventory on a local level, and you are able to have lower budgets and target your geographic area specifically, and you are also able to target interests and age and tendencies and other behaviors that limit your waste and give you more bang for your buck. So really, I'll keep it short and sweet, but ultimately these platforms are on the rise, and they really literally can't be ignored anymore. And with the self-serve platforms and the opening up of inventory, there's a lot of opportunity there.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. Our next speaker is Michael Dubkowski. Appreciate everybody's patience. It looks like I was sharing the wrong screen, so hopefully the slides are finally worked out. Mike, take it away.
Great. Yeah, Dylan, you can just go to the next slide. So at the beginning of 2021, Google announced that they're going to do a new algorithm update called Google Core Web Vitals. Why this is important to everyone is because the main factor of Google Core Web Vitals is it deals with load speed. And load speed is going to be an important factor for a couple of reasons. One, it's really important if your website performs really well at search engine optimization, you're probably getting a lot of LASIK leads because of that. Those LASIK leads are going to be one of your highest converters from the lead phase to the surgery phase. We've tested the numbers between social media, paid search, local search, SEO, and they're up there with like direct calls and friends and family in terms of conversion rate. So what you need to know about the newest piece of page experience is there's three main factors that your website has to do well with: loading, interactivity, and visual stability. You are now going to be graded on how fast your mobile website loads, not your desktop. So you need to make sure that that mobile site loads extremely fast, that you have, and you also have an HTTPS certificate as well on the site as well. You can go to the next slide, Dylan. So how do you check all of this? This is just some tips for everybody out there. Google PageSpeed Insights is really the place you want to go because they have a mobile version and they have a desktop version that you can check it. Just type your domain name in there and you can get your score. Another thing you might want to check out is something called GT Metrics. That's more of an ABCD kind of score of your load speed. And then something else that you might find useful called Lighthouse. You can find this inside the Chrome browser. You can go to the next one, Dylan.
Yep.
Here are just some examples of some good scores. What you want, kind of what you don't want. For every, if your page speed drops from 1 to 3 seconds, you're going to increase your bounce rate by 32%. So getting this stuff right makes a big deal. You can go to the next slide, Dylan. So why does this all matter? Like I previously said, when someone does an organic search and they land on your website, there was a lot of intent there. They went to the search and they typed in LASIK in your area, and that particular kind of form fill that you get is going to be a high conversion. Secondly, patients nowadays, they want a better user experience. And I think through COVID, COVID actually created more demand for the LASIK procedure. I think if anybody tried wearing glasses and a mask at the same time, I mean, we saw this in tons of advertising for practices, but I had actually, regressed myself personally. So I was wearing some glasses for a -1.5, and I couldn't handle the foggy glasses. I literally had to go out and get some contact lenses because of it. So I think COVID did create more of a demand for it. And as Joel had mentioned earlier, there was plenty of cash out there for people to afford these procedures. And lastly, although this has been an algorithm update with Google, don't forget about the importance of the GMB profile. This is your Google My Business profile. You want to try to get this on the top 3 in the map pack listings. If you can do that, that's going to help your conversion rate out a great deal more. So ready for the next speaker, Dylan.
All right. Thanks a lot, Michael. Appreciate it. Megan with IMAX, you're up. Take it away.
Awesome. Thanks. That was really helpful information, Michael. OptiCall, thank you for putting this on. This was really enjoyable last year, and I think a lot of good information will come out of it again this year. The thing that I wanted to focus on is, everybody's talking about the amount of leads they're getting right now, and everything's so great, right? Well, how many times is your practice saying, oh, well, we get all these quiz leads, but they're not converting into surgery, so they're just not good leads, so we're going to push them aside. So basically what I want to teach you today is that they are good leads and what different messages to provide to patients where they're coming in through the buying cycle. So if you understand that process and you understand what messages they need to move forward, you'll understand how to make those leads valuable once again and ultimately make them into buyers. So Dylan, if you'll go to the next slide, and we'll just keep that next slide up. So the first, that's not mine. So the first step is to, again, understand the parts of your marketing, who they're reaching at certain points in the buying process. What happened?
I don't know. Before I had this control, and now the whole thing's gone. Are you just seeing black right now?
Yeah, just black. That's okay. I'll keep talking and hopefully it'll come up so they can see what I'm talking about, but no big deal. So at the top of the buying process is what I like to call big net marketing. So if you can understand which components of your marketing are bringing in types of patients in what segment of the buying process, you can understand the messages you need to be providing to them. So big net marketing, if you think about this, is you throw a huge net into maybe your geographic location and maybe you can target it by age. So that might be your traditional and digital radio and television, like Amanda was talking about, maybe your online display ads, some of your social media marketing. Again, not really super targeted. So it's a big net. You can get a large audience, but not very targeted. So typically, a lot of that marketing is going to bring in those patients who are at the top of the buying process. So they're, oh, I have this interest. That's interesting to me. That does apply to me. But I'm not quite ready to buy yet. And this is the segment that everybody is kind of throwing away because they are not ready to buy yet. But here's what you have to consider. How much money did you spend in your marketing to find those people with that target, right? So they're raising their hand saying, I'm in your area, I'm of the right age, I have this problem or need this service. So whether it's I'm wearing glasses and contacts, or I need cataract surgery, or I have dry eyes, they're giving you this golden nugget of information that they need your service or they're interested in your service. So the big net marketing will bring in and let those people raise up their hands. Again, they might not be ready to buy yet, but they're still so valuable because you can almost not put a dollar on weaning down those people. So if you're able to capture their information, make sure you're capturing it, but then you put them into a process, in a system of moving them through the buying cycle. So at the top, when they come in here, a quiz or education. So you need to provide them more about FAQs about LASIK, or providing them with video of what the process looks like for LASIK. Providing them with that type of information moves them down that buying process. You want to set up automated marketing. You want to set up processes and protocols with your staff who are following up with these leads about, if we're bringing them in this way, these are the types of messages we need to provide to them so they move down in our buying cycle. So the next step, the next segment of the buying cycle is the interest. So if they're coming in here, they might be coming in on your marketing that allows you to target some other interests. Maybe they wear glasses and contacts, or maybe they've even stated they're interested in something like LASIK, or they need dry eye care. But they might not know about your practice. So, marketing that is reaching this segment allows you, again, to target a little bit more. The messaging that these people need is branding about your practice. And then they also need something that moves them into the next step to want to book that exam or that consultation. That might be savings. That might be talking about the financing you have available. So you need to provide them, again, in this second piece. Once you know that they have this interest, they wear glasses and contacts, whether they've dropped down from that first cycle that you might have captured them in, or they're coming in based on your targeting of patients that show this interest, give them the branding, give them the savings. And then the last piece is that action. This is a patient everybody wants, but our marketing is very limited to just pull these patients directly. Of course, some of your marketing is going to pull these patients in, but I can't give you one perfect marketing tactic that's going to pull in hundreds of patients who are saying, yes, let's book right now. So once you've moved patients through the process, and maybe you're sending out remarketing, and definitely search marketing helps with this, because they are actively searching the keywords that you want to capture them on, and they're in your geographical area. You want to push them right into the exam and the consultation. So once you've identified and you understand these different processes and these different segments of the buying cycle, and you set up automated messages that help push them through based on where they came in, then you can, re-engage them and get them finally to that action. Don't throw away those leads that you spent hundreds of dollars to bring in just because they aren't ready to buy right now, because it costs little to no marketing to push them through that buying process.
Well, thank you,
I
Megan.
see you, Dylan.
Yep. It's time for Paul Student Board. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Got a lot of things going on my screen, but we'll bring Paul in. I think he had to jump on a different computer, so I don't think he's got the video.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have videos. I apologize, but Megan, that was great. I think a lot of practices really suffer from going through the buying cycle and the sales cycle. A lot of practices basically just touch the patient the first time, then never call them back. So I think that was a great message. So I truly believe every practice, the foundation is definitely answering the phones and following up with those leads. You have to have a great foundation for that. My talk's gonna be a little bit different, just about landing pages. Can be pretty simple. A lot of practices do pay-per-click ads, digital ads, Facebook ads, and when somebody clicks on the ad, it goes to the home page of the website. That does so many things to basically kind of destroy your ad dollars. It can do everything from the consumer's going to a page that has nothing to do with LASIK. It has to do with cataracts, glaucoma, dry eye, whatever it might be. And there's a little bit of snippet of LASIK. Then they have to click another page. Number two, it affects your quality score. Quality score is basically kind of a report card on Google AdWords, your pay-per-click campaign, and it tells Google how relative your actual ad is to the page it's landing on. The higher the quality score you have, the lower your cost per click is going to be, because it improves something called ad rank. A lot of Google terms. Number one, have a landing page. If you don't have a landing page, you're literally just burning money. One thing that we've really tried to do a lot is run A/B testing or ABC testing, which is simply having two different landing pages. Basically, like Joel was talking earlier about what's really ramping up LASIK volume. I do believe it's more of the stimulus than the foggy glasses. I didn't believe that before, but if you look at everything else, yeah, people are buying more swimming pools, more cars than ever before. The next slide, Dylan, if you'll go to that, please. So A/B testing is simply having, like I said, two pages where your pay-per-click ad, they'll click on it, and basically the landing page is just a one-page site of your website. It has a form that's trackable, and it has a tracking number that's trackable. So any lead that's actually coming through there is trackable. So you know exactly how many leads you're getting for every dollar you spend. So one landing page is going to look like something, and one landing page is going to look like something else. And if you'll go to the next slide, we'll see what that looks like. So this client, when I did these screenshots, it didn't turn out quite as they actually are, but one landing page, the one on the left, has get LASIK for a limited time for only $24.99 for both eyes, plus 0% financing for 24 months. That's a pretty amazing offer. We hear a lot of these offers like that, or $1,000 off LASIK plus 0% financing for 24 months. I would have thought that one would have been better than the one on the right, which is, we can give you vision so clearly you'll smile. There's no financial offer at all. There's no financing offer at all. So I was absolutely shocked when I looked at the conversion rate. Conversion rate simply when somebody clicks on your pay-per-click ad, how many of those people are turning into leads? So let's say out of 100 leads, 5.59%, I'm sorry, out of 100 clicks, 5.59% of the people landing on your landing page turn into a lead on the left versus 11.59%, basically more than double filled out the form or called the tracking number for the Smile campaign. So that was shocking to me.
I like the picture on the right, personally.
So, yeah, it didn't screenshot quite right either, but the data is just amazing. So we'll run campaigns that we think won't work or will work, and what we think we know isn't actually what we know. It's all about the actual data. So takeaway, have a landing page. Number two, do A/B testing every 3 months or so, every month or so. Swap out the weakest page for a different page. Experiment, because you'll be shocked at what consumers want. And I'm done.
All right. Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Our next speaker is Connor Dixon with Relevant Lab.
Awesome. That was good information, Paul. It's actually pretty amazing. Us as marketers, it's funny because we're always normally focused on generating leads and trying to throw whatever it is on the wall and seeing what sticks, right? And so A/B testing really kind of breaks that down to a level where you really get the truth is in the data, because we really a lot of times are just flying blind. And right now we're in such an amazing time period where it seems like everything we're throwing on the wall is sticking. And so it's made that job a lot easier. And so what we've been doing is to expand quite a bit on what Megan's topic was, is okay, how can we try to help push forward people through the sales process, trying to give them more personalized information, but especially using technology to do so. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the data points that we can gather about people and how we can actually make that automation more specific using technology that's out there now to help craft these custom messages. And so basically, you step back and you say, okay, what type of information do we already know about these patients before they ever step foot through our door? And this is based on the phone calls, the web forms that you use in the sales funnels that you're setting up, and realistically, what do we have? What do we know about them? And so it's things such as how old are they? We'll probably, if we ask that question, we'll know that answer. How old are they? What is their prescription? What the result of a self-test they took was. Potentially what a lifestyle or interest might be for using a specific funnel that's like golf related, and even the barriers, such as if it's a fear or it's cost. If we ask those questions and they give us those answers, we can actually flag those as data points. And so the data points I'm talking about is actual personal information about a prospect. And then using technology, we can actually develop funnels that more specifically talk to those interest points that we already know about our patients. And so when I talk about technology, I talk about things like CRM software, like MD Prospects, there you go, Michael, like Salesforce, like Infusionsoft, MyMedLeads. We've seen this big influx over the last 18 months of those companies being capable of integrating with their existing practice management tools, which now gives us access to more seamless integration and ability to develop these automated channels. And so the idea is, okay, the idea is that we can get smarter with the type of marketing that we're doing, and we can better nurture these prospects who are already in our pipeline through the sales funnel to conversion. Okay, so basically, the idea is that you can harness the power of these tools to craft separate custom sales funnels with detailed information and specific email communication. You can actually go to the next slide, Dylan. Or is that the second slide? Sorry. And so a perfect example is, okay, if we know that somebody took a Smile self-test from a Smile ad that was on social media, and we said they were a candidate, we can flag that and it will trigger a set of emails, texts that specifically talks about Smile. It talks about the benefits, it talks about the recovery. If we know that somebody is over 50 years old, we talk specifically about readers and bifocal solutions versus just general glasses and contacts. If we know somebody comes in for an exam, they don't schedule, but we know exactly what procedure they're recommended for, whether it was ICL, RLE, whatever have you. All the information they get is automated and triggered to talk specifically about the benefits. We show testimonials from those type of patients, and so it's no longer is it a generic, hey, save $1,000, come in and see if you're a candidate. We're talking specifically to these people's individual specific situations, and we're harnessing technology to do that. And yes, it is a lot of work to develop the content because you're talking about so many different potential funnels. But once you put in the work to actually get that content developed and set it up automatically in the background, all you really did is just supercharge all your marketing efforts. And the beauty is it's sort of set it and forget it, because once you've leveraged that technology, once you've put in the work to develop those tracks and it all is finally working, then all you do is just fold it in, David Rose style for your shit creek fans, fold it in to all the existing follow-up that's happening in office, which to Paul's point, a lot of times isn't that much. And the beauty is, in the instances that we've done this already, we've seen increased engagement and increased conversions across the board. And it is a big thing that we're doing for a lot of clients right now. So if anybody wants some more specific examples, I'd be happy to share them. But that's it. So without further ado, I should say, I'll pass it on to my my loquacious colleague, Michael King.
Wonderful. I want to start off, first of all, by giving a shout out to Connor and also to Paul about data is the boss. I fully agree with that. And I want to start out by asking everybody a question. What do all of these brands that are on the screen have in common? And the answer is all of them during the pandemic have enabled you to do curbside pickup. And the point that I want to make is, number one, failure to innovate can be one of the greatest challenges that a practice, especially right now, when things are going really, really well, this is the time when you want to be innovating. And so to pick on one of those brands right now, I want to talk about Domino's for a second. And first off, in the food industry, you've got 60% of millennials are ordering food on an app for delivery, right? Online delivery accounts for 40% of all restaurant sales. The point in which I'm making is that having an online scheduler, and this is the purpose of what I want to talk to you about, is you need to have an online scheduler to enable people to be able to schedule consultations at your practice. Many of you right now are currently only using a appointment request form. And an appointment request form, imagine going with that analogy on Domino's. It's like you're submitting a form to Domino's and saying, hey, I'd like to order a pizza, and you're waiting for them to get back to you in a day or two. So if you have an appointment request form, you got to get rid of it. You have to enable yourself to have an online scheduler. If you're having the call us to schedule as your option to schedule an appointment, that's essentially you saying, hey, Domino's, or like, I need to pick up the phone and call Domino's to order pizza. People like to use these things. You want to get inside the cell phone of a prospective patient. And so you could jump on to the next slide, Dom. And so the number one metric that you want to have at your fingertips is your lead to consultation conversion rate. What do I mean by that? I mean, you're getting a bucket of leads every single week. What you want to be adept at doing is converting those leads into consultations within 7 days. So every single week, you want to be looking at how good are we as a team converting those leads to consultations. Pre-COVID, so back in 2019, early 2020, I'd say I have practices converting between 35 and 43% of their leads to a consultation. Now what I'm seeing is people converting between 45 and 60% of their leads to a consultation, and they're not even doing any co-management. So my point is that, you know, what you really want to be doing is focusing on reducing your lead response time, using things like two-way texting to help improve your conversion rates. And, you know, this also can kind of transfer over to premium lenses on Refractive Lens Exchange. I have a client using pretty much 35 to 50 virtual consults scheduled per week on RLE. It's working phenomenally well. If I'm looking at the mix right now between people that are scheduling virtual and in office, 65% are scheduling in office and roughly 35% are scheduling virtual. So I'll end with a quick case study. Go to the next slide, Dylan, please. This is a client of ours that you can see on the screen. You got a 2-month case study. So Jan-Feb 2021 versus Jan-Feb 2020. Look on the top right there. You can see they got actually less leads, a little bit less leads in 2021, but look at how many more consultations by offering this hybrid model of in-office and virtual. The main thing that you want to look at is look at the revenue. They've got $493,000 increased volume by having both options. It's not either or. I'm a firm believer that you want to innovate and offer different ways to reduce the friction in the minds of a patient to become a potential patient for you. And so that's it what I have, and I'll bounce it back to you, Dom.
Appreciate that, Michael. I'm impressed. Everybody's kept to their allotted time. That's a lot to ask from 8 different marketing agencies. So thank you so much, all of you, for participating. And we'll get to Q&A here in just a second. I'm going to throw a quick plug for OptiCall. The services that we offer, First Contact is inbound handling of elective medical leads, so refractive leads. We've got Overflow, extended hours of coverage. Boomerang is more for insurance-based patients that are past due for care, and Capture is our web lead response program that's gaining a lot of traction. We have kind of a different process and pricing structure, but with internet being the #1 growing lead source, that program seems to be taking off. We offer a free lead conversion assessment where we'll place calls to your practice, mystery calls, and record them, and the same with web forms to give you a barometer on what's happening at your practice to see if there's areas that we can help. So we're going to be sending this slide deck to everybody with contact information. Appreciate everybody's patience as we work through some of the technical difficulties, or I should say, as I work through them. We missed this slide here in the beginning. I'll just see if I can bring this up with everybody's picture. Quite an all-star cast. So we've got some time left. We've got about 10 minutes left before the hour. Got some questions that have come through. So I'm going to go ahead and take the slide presentation off. And if all of our panelists would like to rejoin via camera. Love to have you back here. So I'm just going to kind of, I'm going to take these questions and just assign them as they come in. There was one specific to Mike Dubkowski's talk, which is there a way to find out what your Google quality score is and what you can do to improve it?
Well, quality score would be something associated with the PPC program or Google Paid Search, and you need to log into your Google Paid Search console. That was kind of something Paul Stubenborg talked about, but quality score is an important metric in determining or keeping your ad visible. So, but maybe Paul wants to comment on that.
Yeah, Paul, maybe that did come up when you were talking. I got off track.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's just a metric that, basically Google and Yahoo and Bing will use to basically determine how relative your ad is to the landing page, and also what somebody searches for. So if somebody searches for, say, LASIK in San Diego, basically your ad should say LASIK in San Diego, and your landing page should say LASIK in San Diego. And it's amazing what your quality score will do to the place your ad ranks on Google, as well as what it'll do to your actual cost per click. It's amazing, and you always have to check it. Like every month we go through and check it just to see if it's changed. So yeah, as Michael said, log in and you'll be able to see what your quality score too. Great thing about Google too is it has recommendations now, so you can look at your recommendations and see if your quality score is affected.
Great. So I've got a question about staffing. Practice says that they're short staffed, they need to ramp up, and not sure how long this wave is going to last. So any advice on what to do with this situation? Connor, you got something to say?
I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting one. It's sort of like Mike Malley's advice. It's because I completely agree that we need to capitalize on stimulus and what's happening right now, because as it continues to get more and more open, we are going to be competing for those dollars for vacations and everything else. Everybody's going to want to use their money. Like right now, they're using their money getting ready for that. They're using their money on ways to improve themselves. But yeah, everybody wants to go on vacation. Everybody's ready for it. So they're going to choose to do that. If it's one or the other, they're going to go on vacation. They're not going to get LASIK, right? And so how does that affect staffing? It's one of those things where, okay, you hire a bunch of people now. Maybe you incentivize them more aggressively to take advantage of the current wave, but you also have to be prepared of what's coming down the pipe. And so honestly, it's one of those things where my advice would be to try to keep it as tight as possible, knowing that, so people might get overworked right now, but understanding that likely is going to dissipate to some degree here in the coming months.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to chime in on that one? Well, I was also going to say, if anybody has questions, please submit them now. This is your chance to tap into the experts.
So Dylan, we own
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Megan.
I was just going to say, well, I mean, obviously there's so many vendors out there now that you can utilize and lean on during these times. So like OptiCall, if it has to be with your phone bank or, things like that, taking in leads, you could, utilize a source like OptiCall, or, MD Prospects has a lot of services that can help, automate some of the things that might bog down your staff. But all I'll say is I would take advantage of the influx right now and, short-term view on that, because it's not going to last forever. I mean, we've definitely seen downturns in the last 20 years, where it's been great. And then there's times where it's not. So we want to take advantage when it is really great.
Yeah. I want to add something to that as well. Sorry, who's talking? But back to what Connor was saying with incentivizing, that's going to be your biggest tool in your arsenal right now, is incentivizing the staff you do have on converting leads so that they feel more motivated versus overworked by it. and then also incentivizing new hires. So having something that goes above and beyond what they might find at another practice or another job, or quite frankly, staying home and doing nothing. So I think incentivization is the name of the game with hiring and keeping your staff motivated to work a little harder in these busy months.
Awesome.
That was a great plug, Megan, for off the call right there.
I appreciate the plug.
You can,
So,
I mean, she's right though. If you got front desk staff that could be doing something else, right, that would help with the actual, patients on hand, got a perfect solution right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. There's
important
a lot
thing?
of vendors that can fill in for the short term. If you have this influx, utilize it. So maybe you don't have to lay off staff later, or take part-time staff to full-time right now. See if you can, get some, knowing that it might be just for a short period of time. There might be staff willing to do that as well. And I think Paul from above is trying to speak.
Yeah, so we also, I have a business partner, we own an ophthalmic recruiting company. I'll tell you, the problem isn't staffing, the problem is finding employees. There's no employees. That's the problem. Have you noticed how many restaurants have a help wanted sign? It's just really hard. And it's not just because of the influx of money into the economy, it's due to the stimulus made people very lazy. They don't want to go back to work. So to find somebody is incredibly difficult right now, especially depending on what job market you're in. We've had refractive coordinator positions open in Austin, and optometrist. We're trying to hire in Florida. It's just it's very, very hard to find somebody. I wish I had a recommendation on how, but it basically just boils down to dollars and really good Glassdoor reviews and being a great employer. All right, Dylan. Probably move on to the next question.
All right, thanks guys. So what is the single most important thing a practice should be focusing on right now with their marketing? I'll let Mike Malley and Michael King both take this. We'll start with Mike Malley.
Take myself off mute here. I would focus on getting ready for summer. Everyone wants LASIK. Summer's coming, vacation's coming. Focus your messaging on, before you go, get this done, and stimulate your vision, kind of a campaign. There will be no better time than June right now. I'm just telling you, to market a summer LASIK, get out there, kind of a message. It's all going to work. And then when you combine all the things people talked about here, it's going to work even better. But that's what I would do. King?
I like to, when I'm talking to practice about how to improve their marketing, the first thing I always like to recommend is to focus on your website first. So back to Michael Dubkowski's point, adding on different conversion assets to your site. You don't have a self-test, add a self-test. If you don't have the ability for people to opt in for pricing on your website, of the top 25 searches for LASIK or refractive surgery right now, half of them are about how much is it, how much does it cost. So meeting that intent of a patient by having the ability for them to opt in for pricing is a great way to improve the amount of conversions you get from your marketing. And the last point I would mention is I'm a massive believer in transparency. So if you have not had a chance to kind of sit down with your marketing guy or gal in a little while and kind of look through the numbers, part of it is just understanding the data and always having the approach of wanting to keep innovating and constantly improve and optimize what you have.
Awesome.
Can I add something really quick to that?
No.
I was going to say, for the practices, to Mally's point, for the practices that are doing Smile, I would, and to Paul's point too, he saw that landing page conversion increase with the Smile, landing page versus LASIK. Promoting Smile right now, promoting the recovery and how quick it is and how quick you can get back out there to doing normal activities like vacations, because that's where you're competing with. I think that's a great message to put out there right now in June.
True. We got one more I want to address here. This must be somebody from Texas. How do y'all compete with the 250 advertisers in your market? That's a common question.
How do you compete with different advertisers in your market?
No, the 250 advertisers in your market.
Oh, got it.
Anybody want to take that one?
I mean, I can jump into that one. From a technical standpoint, well, there's a couple of things you could do. Number one, your messaging could be, about having transparent pricing, et cetera, on your landing pages. But, really the way that I do it from a technical standpoint inside of Google Ads, is I always like to have a practice to have the highest impression share and also the highest absolute top of page rate. LASIK Plus, TLC, and LVI, what they're going to do is always want it to be the first ad that's shown. So if you're able to out-convert the competition, you can then outspend them and then be able to be the first choice in the searches on Google Ads. But we've also done things like, getting your phone team to be trained well about how to handle the pricing question, being able to do just transparent on the telephone. Those are some things that I'd recommend.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead.
One last thing, we just had our surgeons do videos about that exact subject, Dylan. Have them discuss it, have them talk about it, make it one of the first links, and then link it out, but have the surgeon say it versus, just a marketing tape. It works great.
And that comes up at OptiCall quite a bit, and we put scripts in place to be able to combat that, to let people know, did you know not all LASIK is the same? Some practices might have a price match based on technology. People don't necessarily want the cheapest. I think they just want to feel like they've called the right place, and it's really important to create a great experience and differentiate yourself. Because if you're charging a premium price and you're not giving a premium experience, then they're not going to be too excited about that.
And
I'll add on to Michael. Oh, sorry, Amanda.
No,
I'll just add on to Michael's point when he talked about, you really want to be top of search engines, and for PPC, your ads are up there. But make sure that you have a strong positioning statement yourself. Don't just be one of the other hundreds of practice options out there. Make sure that you have a really strong positioning statement for yourself, and that is consistent in all of your messaging, because if you don't brand yourself as some sort of option that is better for some reason, you're just another part of the list. So I just would suggest making sure that you really know who you are and what your position is in the market, and really drive that home so people know why you're different.
All right, so we got like 30 seconds. Amanda, I'll let you.
okay. All I was gonna say is something that we've seen work really well is just to hit that concept head on. A lot of people shy away from it, thinking that I could never get to 250. Well, quite frankly, neither can they. Normally, they don't actually do LASIK on someone for that price, and I think we all know that. So hitting that head on with a message about kind of being honest versus dishonest and not falling for the bait and switch tactics has been a smart move, and we've seen it be successful in paid search and in other marketing campaigns.
Awesome. Well, I just want to thank you guys all for being here. It's really cool that you come in this educational format, and asking ad agencies not to promote themselves is kind of like me asking Chloe not to
Here it comes.
Amazon door guide. So thank you so much for doing that. We'll be sending the recording and the slides to everyone. We hope to do it again next year. We've got a survey. We'd love your feedback on topics we can do in the future. If you'd like to be contacted by anybody on the presentation, we'll certainly be in touch with you, and appreciate everybody's time. You guys have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Dylan wins the best dressed award.